Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a publication event for my new book. It's Spritz O'Clock Somewhere. It's so great to have you watching. Thank you so much for being here. Rick Lupert, this is my 28th book of poems and latest in the annual release of travel poetry books. This particular book is one that was written last summer when Addie and I were lucky enough to visit Italy. We went to a few cities there. We went to Bologna, we went to Florence, we went to Naples, and we ended with just on the way home with a couple of nights in Paris. It was a rather indulgent and really fun experience. And in addition to reading some poems from the book, from the different cities that we got to visit. A few things are going to happen. We're going to be cutting to my wife, Addie, live in the kitchen, who will be sharing with us some of the delights and delicacies that were available to us throughout the different cities that we visited, and a very special segment about halfway through the event, which I'm calling Something Italian with Elizabeth Iannacci, which I'm not sure what that's going to be, but I'm very excited to find out along with the rest of you, whatever that might be. Before we get into, well, right before we actually got to leave on the trip, one of the reasons that we're able to go on these trips is because summer camp exists and it allows us to deposit our child in different places, or at camp actually in one place, and they take care of him and he has a great time. And then Addie and I get to go off and have these fabulous, fabulous trips. So before we get into Italy itself, I'm going to read a poem from the beginning of the book, so you get a sense of where our mindset was, called "We're Dropping Our Kid Off at Camp Today." Here it is. I was as surprised as anyone when Music Shuffle put on the overture to Jesus Christ Superstar at the exact moment we rolled into Jewish summer camp to drop our son off. We're not going to see him for 3 weeks, and our hope is he will fully immerse himself in this experience. Jesus isn't helping. Or maybe he meant to chime in on the day we're going to visit the Duomo in Florence. They've got at least 2 structures I can climb up to survey what all the believers have built. It'll be funny if the moment our train arrives there, the soundtrack to Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat starts blaring. Maybe that's what Siri meant to play. She always confuses Andrew Lloyd Webber Productions. As long as it isn't Cats, we're in good shape. That one had a good overture, but even with the appeal of Cats, it didn't go anywhere. We're hoping our kid doesn't go anywhere over the next 3 weeks while we go everywhere. Hosanna, hey, Zanna, 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 Hosanna, hey, Zanna, Hosanna. Hey Jude, we'll bring you back some fusilli, or at least take you to Italy. You're our superstar. There you go. That's a poem right from the beginning that I wrote when we were still at home, just packing in order to be able to get on the plane when our kid was safely at summer camp. And right now, one of the things, well, so then we flew off to Italy. We got to Bologna after a stressful time in the Heathrow airport. Heathrow is not an airport I recommend. I'm sorry, Heathrow Airport, if you're watching right now, but we need to talk and we need to make some changes. But as soon as we got there, we started to have a great time. And we learned very quickly that one of the things that you do before you have dinner in Italy is you have a special drink called a Spritz. They have Spritz hour there. Actually, they have aperitivo hour there. In Italy, they don't have dinner until very late on my schedule at any rate. But because of that, they have a whole special hour around the time that we normally have dinner where you have appetizers and a special drink. And Addie, are you there in the kitchen now?
Hello, I'm here in the kitchen.
Fantastic. And what is the drink that we had almost every night on our time during our time in Italy.
Here it is, the Aperol Spritz, made with Aperol, Prosecco, and some club soda, mixed all together. All right, I'm gonna pour it in glass. Are you ready? It seems a little early here in California to have a Spritz, but it's Spritz o'clock somewhere.
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right, here it is. Cheers.
Well, that looks delicious. I'm jealous that there's only one of those and you're down in the kitchen having that. But nice job. All of those ingredients were we mixed those ahead of time in the glass and you poured it over ice. How's it taste?
It tastes citrusy and a little sweet. I think this actually kind of looks very similar to the picture on your book. But there was one place, I think in Florence, where we had a pasta straw. So it was a full-on piece of pasta that was a straw to one of our spritzes.
Very good. Yes, indeed. Cool. Well, wonderful. Addie, great job there with the spritz and finding the striped straw to help legitimize the whole experience. We're going to cut back to you in a few minutes after I read some poems from Bologna and try not to have too much of that spritz in the meantime.
See you soon.
Can't wait. All right. Well, we got to Bologna. Bologna is a fabulous city, perhaps not number one on someone's radar when they think of Italy, but it's well worth checking out in the region, sort of in the north west, no, east of Tuscany, where Florence is, not too far from Venice, but its own region with lots of delightful food. It's where Parmesan cheese comes from. It's where balsamic vinegar comes from, and Prosecco wine as well. And here's a few poems that I wrote in Bologna. This first one, it was named after the name of the hotel, right in the center of town, which was situated right across the walkway from an old clock tower. And the poem title comes from the name of that from clock tower, L'Orologio. The bell in the clock tower for which the hotel is named rings 2 sets of times. When it is 8 o'clock, the bell will ring 8 times. Then a few minutes later will ring 8 more. This ancient snooze system surpasses the need for a digital age, but doesn't prevent me from asking Addie, is it 10 o'clock? Thinking we have overslept. It is 8 o'clock, she responds. But there were 10 bells, I tell her. There were 8 bells, she tells me. We have not overslept, and I have lost the ability to count to 10 on this vacation. This feels right to me, as no one should have to commingle with numbers when work is thousands of miles away. All right, that's one of the first poems I wrote there when we woke up in the morning on the first day in Bologna. We took a day trip on that first day to the city of Modena, where we got to eat at a very famous restaurant put together by the famous Italian chef Massimo Bottura. And this poem was written when we actually had our first Aperol Spritz in the city of Modena, a little 3-part poem called At Benny's Bar. 1. The barber pole straws in my first ever Aperol Spritz reminds me of Venice gondolas and make me the happiest boy in Modena. It's also possible whatever is in this drink is contributing to my happiness. 2. Does elephant gin contain real elephant? 3. A guy grabs a chair all the way on the other side of Benny's bar, and I shout across the bar, hey, I'm using that. But he either doesn't hear me, speak English, or care. Moving along. Oh, look at this. Look what I've been brought here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the kind of service you need in your house. I shouldn't be drinking this during the show. All right. This was written the next morning. It's called It's an Eclectic Mix of Music in the Breakfast Room. Opera into the Rolling Stones, a song that sounds like Stevie Wonder but isn't. Addie doesn't want to be mentioned in this poem, so I won't, but I will say that smooth jazz is never the answer. A couple more poems written here in Bologna, and then we're going to check back in with Addie to see what food we have from that particular region. Another one from Addie. This one is called Wisdom from Addie. She kind of writes half the book, but refuses to write her own book, so I just have to quote her in these books. Wisdom from Addie. Never put on socks and walk back into the bathroom. That's actually the entire poem. You'll note a lot of these poems are short. The whole book, all of these travel books are written while actually traveling, and so while traveling and seeing things and doing things, there's only so much time to write. While I think my cat wants a sip of the Spritz. Sorry, Macy, you can't have it. Um, there's not a lot of time, so a lot of the poems in the middle of each section is a day in the trip, are short, observational, maybe a little longer at lunch, and I tend to write the longer poems and by longer, only write poems that are so long, but in the mornings when I wake up and in the evenings. This is one of those at the end of our time in Bologna. It's called Good Night, Bologna. We came to Italy for the food, and Bologna did not disappoint. Our stomachs have contacted contractors for the needed expansion. I don't know who's going to pay for that, but I do know this famous city, hardly on any tourist's radar, should be on every tourist's radar. Its piazzas are alive like the ones we remember in Rome 19 years ago on our honeymoon. Its Aperol spritzes do the job. We barely touched a museum here, but that's okay. Your tortellini and cheese and lambrusco told us almost everything we needed to know. Plus, when you're walking through a living museum, it has to count for something. We saw at least 5 of your 7 secrets. I'll never tell. We stood on your tallest tower. Oh, Bologna, tomorrow morning will be bittersweet. Should I do another double espresso or maybe a cappuccino this time? You tell me what I should do. Even after I leave, you know how to get in touch. I'll follow whatever instructions you send my way. There you go. That's a bunch of poems written in Bologna. Tallest tower. It just occurred to me that I have to move my drinks because the cat keeps coming up here to have them, and it's not good to give a cat alcohol this early in the day. Um, the tallest tower we went on, this very tall tower in Bologna. Shortly after we left, I saw a news article that said that they'd shut it down because it looked like it was going to fall, and they're looking how they can reinforce it. So I guess we got in and got lucky that it didn't fall when we were in it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to Florence, it's time to see some of the things that we ate and drank in Bologna with a little segment we're going to call Italian Food with Addie, Bologna edition. There's an official slide which makes it official. And Addie, are you with me again?
I'm here.
All right, so we went on a day trip from Bologna and had all kinds of things. What do you got for us?
I think the first thing we had was some Parmesan cheese here. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see. Ooh, the smell. We went to a cheese factory. This is part of a giant rind of big, how big are they? Parmesan cheese.
Well, let's take a look.
Mm.
There's you standing in the cheese factory with all of these giant wheels. And when we bought this cheese yesterday, one of these wheels was right there in the store. So this actually came from Italy, and it looked just like that. And look how happy you look standing there in your cheese dress and amidst the wheels of cheese.
Yeah, do you remember the smell? Just the smell of the cheese and delicious.
Yeah, that
Right.
was a smell that I would go back to any time. It was pretty spectacular being in that room with those wheels of cheese.
Mm. Mm-mm. Ooh, delicious. I mean, all right. We also went to a balsamic factory. This particular balsamic was actually a gift from, was it the day before that we went to Modena with Massimo's restaurant? And this was his, let's see, balsamic. So we
Yeah,
went
and
on
what
this tours and it was amazing to see all the barrels. They had different size barrels, like a big one, and they got smaller as they went down, and they would take a little bit from each barrel and kind of put it into the barrels to rotate through. So there was always some of the mother balsamic in the future balsamics. Ah, some barrels right there. Are you showing us?
I'm showing the barrels.
Okay. And one of the things I remembered is when you got married, you got your very own little barrel of the balsamic that then you would start and create, and then you'd have your whole balsamic. But here we go. I'm going to add a little bit. Oh, I don't know if you can see this.
I hope
Down
we're not
into the
making the
red.
people jealous watching this because that
I
does.
know. Or you too. You're upstairs and here I am. All right. So I'm going to just dip and have a little taste of this balsamic.
Well, we may have to cut this event short so I can get down.
Mm, 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 mm.
Well,
Can't
that's
go
good.
wrong
Yeah,
with balsamic and cheese.
one of the things that you can see on the wheels of cheese and on the bottles of balsamic, if you go into a store, you can look for this. There's special insignias from the various official Italian government agencies which govern these things and allow you to say that they're certified and official. I mean, you can make balsamic anywhere, but if you want, certified, approved by you need this special certificate and you have to follow all the protocols and it has to be made in the region. That applies both to the balsamic you're holding up, as well as to the wheels of cheese, as well as to the wine that we had in that region.
Yeah, I'm holding up. You can see the seal on the back of this bottle. I don't know if it's clear.
Well, so it's legit, is what you're telling me.
Yes,
All
legit.
right.
You can taste the legit.
Says right in the ingredients list, legitimacy.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um, cool. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next city. Thank you, Addie. I can't wait to see what happens in the next city. The next city is Florence, and it was kind of heartbreaking leaving Bologna, a city I knew nothing about until we got there. But I'd been here. I'd been to Italy before, but not to Florence. And people had said for years, "Oh, you really need to go to Florence." So we went, and it turned out to be quite a spectacular and beautiful and delicious city. So I'm going to read a few poems from this, and we'll check back in with Addie. And coming up right after that, get excited because it'll be something Italian with Elizabeth Iannacci, which has been on my bucket list for years. This is the first one of the early poems I wrote in on the first day while wandering around Florence. We got in after the train ride from Bologna. We had a big sandwich, and this poem is called Quiet Mime. After the best sandwich we've ever had in Florence, and also the only sandwich we've ever had in Florence, in front of the longest sandwich line we've ever seen in any city at another sandwich shop, we see a talking mime. We're not sure if he's off duty or just isn't very good at his job. All right. This next one, written a few minutes later when we were wandering around getting our bearings in Florence, is called Quacking by Ponte Vecchio. Addie starts to quack. I don't turn around because I'm headed to a particular picture spot. She quacks even more vigorously, trying to get my attention. She's upset that I don't turn around, but I just assume this is when Addie quacks in Florence and that it's a normal thing. Few more from Florence. This one I think was written at the end of the first night there. It's called Turns Out Florence is Pretty Good. I have to admit, when we walked out of the train station in Florence, the immediate neighborhood didn't give me hope. But then we entered the old city, and in front of me was the Duomo and one of the largest churches in the world. I got the Florence feels right away. Lunch and a walking tour later, and I knew we were going to be all right. I'm trying not to tell Jude at camp in my nightly messages too much about the pasta here because he's already upset that he didn't get to come, and pasta, historically, is his favorite food. But I think I can tell you, we've eaten some historic pasta here. It is all the degrees here, and I'm not sure I'm gaining weight if I'm gaining weight because I'm eating too much or losing weight because I'm sweating so much. I asked Jude to let me know what I look like when I see him again. There's a lot to do before that happens. I miss Bologna, but some of the most famous things artists ever created are about to be in my eyes. We also saw a long line for sandwiches, and although one of us is indifferent about sandwiches, we love a good line. We're living like there's no tomorrow and eagerly planning tomorrow. I'm writing this at the end of your workday and at the end of my whole day. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Just a couple of more from Florence. Acknowledgement, written the next morning after breakfast. We're off to see some of the most famous paintings in the world. This world, I think to myself, ominously. And moving much later into our trip to Florence, this poem is called Good Night, Florence. We need a million more weeks to see all of Florence, but instead we just have this one last night. I barely crossed the Arno 3 times. I barely heard the name Medici enough to picture their faces. Michelangelo is an exception. We saw him everywhere. He and his colleagues carved this town out of stones pulled from the ground. The veins on David, the eyes on Venus, the hole we never took wine from. Let my feet touch this ground again beyond tomorrow morning when the train comes to take me to where the lemons come from. There you go. A brief foray into our experience in the town of Florence, a place where everyone should visit, which leads us now to this next segment called Italian Food with Addie, Florence Edition. I like to have the slides up just so you know that this is an official high quality production. Addie, are you with us?
All right, all right. I am. I am with you. All right, are we ready for dessert? Some gelato, because we had a lot of gelato when we were in Florence, especially. We had a lot of different flavors. Today I picked my favorite flavor. I don't know if you can tell from the color and the little pistachio nuts in here, but this is pistachio gelato right here. I'm going to take a little taste here.
You deserve it, baby.
What were some of the other flavors of gelato that we had?
Well, the one I really remember is gelato was, of course, invented in Florence by the chef to the queen at the time, to one of the Medici family. And the chef's name was Bontalenti. And his recipe is still made by one gelato shop in Florence. And I think it was closed on our first night, so we didn't have it the first night. But on our second night, we went to this gelato shop and we had Bontalente. And I think there was a contest, as I recall, where a number of chefs, gelato chefs in Italy, took Bontalente's recipe from hundreds of years ago and tried to duplicate it. And this particular chef at this one gelato shop we went to a one. It's not an exotic flavor. It's sort of vanilla-y, but maybe with a little bit of tartness to it. There's something a little special in it that's beyond just a vanilla. But it was really good when we had it. And it was very cool to eat the first flavor of gelato Bontalenti. How's that pistachio?
It's great, especially on a hot day like today.
Cool. All right. Well, there you go. You enjoy that, and we're gonna thank you, Addie, for that. Looking forward to what we get to see from Naples next. But before we get to there, ladies and gentlemen, we've been teasing this segment for months. It's time for something Italian with Elizabeth Iannacci. That's right, Elizabeth. You have earned your very own introductory slide. Let me click the ask you to unmute button so we can hear your voice.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yay. So this is another one of those endeavors that when you plan, God just chuckles. Because when Rick asked me to do something Italian, I thought, oh, I would sing to you some of the songs of my childhood because my mother was an amazing singer. She used to sing light opera, and I grew up with her singing all of these incredible songs. But I have such a terrible cold that it's only with many novenas and prayers that I can speak at all today. So I'm not going to sing to you. And then I intended to play some Italian music for you, and I can't get my computer to do anything with sound. So I'm on my phone. So I queued everything up on my phone, and I'm afraid that if I go to that, I will lose the connection. So so this is what we're going to do. I have this one song I was going to play for you, and it's called L'Italiano, and it's by Toto Cutugno. And it's a song that you've probably heard. It's not, it's not like, the wisdom of many Italian songs that everybody knows the wisdom of Italian songs. I know that when my grandchildren come to me and say, Doña, how do I know when I'm in love? And I will tell them, well, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. So in the spirit of that wisdom, this song, I'm not going to bore you with the Italian lyrics because I'm preserving my throat, but the English translation of these lyrics of the Italian is, let me sing with the guitar in hand. Let me sing. I'm Italian. Good morning, Italy, spaghetti al dente, and a partisan as president with the car radio always on the right hand and a canary above the window. Good morning, Italy, with your artists, with too much America on the posters, with songs about love, with heart, with more women, less and less nuns. Good morning, Italy. Good morning, Maria, with eyes full of melancholy. Good morning, God. I'm here too. Let me sing with the guitar in hand. Let me sing a song slowly, slowly. Let me sing because I'm proud of it. I am an Italian, a real Italian. Good morning, Italy. That doesn't get scared, and with mint shaving cream, with a blue pinstripe suit, and the slow motion replay always on TV on Sundays. Good morning, Italy, with small coffee, the new socks in the first drawer, with the flag at the city cleaners, and the 600 Fiat in the body shop. Good morning, Italy. Good morning, Maria, with eyes full of melancholy. Good morning, God. I'm here too. Let me sing with the guitar in hand. Let me sing a song slowly, slowly let me sing because I'm proud of it. I am Italian, a real Italian. So I'm so sorry you could not hear because it's a wonderful song, and in Italian you would never know that those were the lyrics in English because you can say anything in Italian and it sounds great. Um, so I'm going to read you two poems, one a long poem and one a very short poem to end this. And I had a very storied history with my family. My family has, going back to the old country, my great grandfather, my great grandfather came over. No, it was just my great grandfather. Sorry. He was, you'll understand, he was really great, but he was my great grandfather. And he came over and he was supposed to settle in and then send for his wife. And I believe it was 3 or 4 children. And I swear to God, this is a true story. Instead, he wound up falling in love with a woman and marrying her. So he was a bigamist. And instead of sending for his family, he sent his wife a letter with a ticket for his oldest daughter. And he says, you know, I've fallen in love with another. And in true Italian fashion, she died of a broken heart. She actually had a heart attack. It wasn't like reading the letter, but very shortly afterwards, she died. And this poem is for her, my great grandmother, Lucia Calabresa. And this is Lucia Calabresa at the grave of her mother. And every one of these things is a true superstition or tradition in the part of Italy that my family is from. Lucia Calabresa at the grave of her mother. Excuse me 1 second. The dogs don't understand that I'm talking to somebody. They think I'm talking to them, and they're a little too big to crawl in my lap. Mama, she must be a powerful witch, a bruta potente to curse my house from so far across the water, to steal my husband, the father of my blue-eyed children. Yes, I did all you taught me, Mama, always from the beginning. Sewing my green wedding dress, I prayed every stitch. I let Sebastiano tear my veil and saw him touch the piece of iron in his pocket for luck at our wedding. We broke the glass and gave the guests sugared almonds, the bitter with the sweet. Mama, you saw that. On the day we moved into your house, I swept the old spirits from each room with the new broom, sprinkled holy water, filled each corner with salt, baked bread. There was never a bird in the house, a wedding in August, or housework on the day of Epiphany. I was good, Mama, like you. When the bambinos came, I bit down on a piece of leather, buried the placenta under the olive tree, let no one call the babies beautiful. The day you died, Mama, I held Padre Basilico's hat for hours so no one would put it on the bed. Sebastiano never shaved on a Friday, nor saw a nun without touching wood, but it did no good, Mama. He went across the water to make a dream real, to wear a black suit like a sporgenza, a boss. And this witch puts her encanto, her enchantment on him. And Mama, he's only a man. She must have given me the malocchio, the evil eye of envy. My hands, they must not have known, must have been kneading the morning dough or carrying wood. Were too full to protect us with the devil's horn, mano cornudo. May she die without a priest or friend to put salt under her head, and may devils bite at her wrists and ankles forever. Mama, my chest explodes with aversione. I carry too much odio, Mama, like a full buckets on an oaken yoke. Mama, someone could die from the weight of such hate. Oh, Mama, you wouldn't know me. So, Italy, a place of strong emotions. And just as a palate cleanser in this is a love poem, a very short love poem, and it's 6,196 miles, approximately. At this moment, I suspect the Arno waltzes below your window, invading your dreams a little like Paris pacing for a Juliet. Here your cat believes if she digs her claws deeply enough into the left corner of the couch, you will leave where you are hiding, peek into the room, and tell her to stop. Meanwhile, I look up at the ring around the silver peephole in the sky, dig my nails into my palms, and think of you. So, if I had a spritzer, I would raise it and toast the host and our hostess. Ciao, Bella. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to be with you in this little tour of Italy.
Prego. Elizabeth, that was fantastic. The lyrics to that song, I could taste the song while you were reading them. I'm glad you didn't get to play it because that might have gotten flagged by Facebook for playing someone's copyrighted material. So this is
Yeah.
all for good. But I'm so sorry you're under the weather, and I hope you feel better. And because we would have loved to have heard your voice. And what a tale of love and heartbreak in that first piece, a personal story, which one of the real impacts of Italy, of the Italian people that both Addie and I got a sense of is that they just live so deliberately by the heart, and sometimes and we experience the best of that, but that also can go astray living that passionately and just going with your heart and doesn't always have the effect on the others around you as you want it to. But so thank you very much for sharing that personal story with us and both of those poems and for being a part of my Italian journey. Love you. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Elizabeth Iannacci.
Grazie mille.
That was Something Italian with Elizabeth Iannacci. She'll do that for anyone. You just call her up. You need something Italian. Elizabeth has got that for you. All right, we've got two other cities to visit before we close out this shindig. The city that we went to after Florence was the city of Naples. Didn't really know anything about Naples except that's where pizza comes from, and it was a pretty delicious place to be, and we really fell in love with that city right away. It's beautiful in a completely different way than the rest of Italy. It's not. It has its own raw ancientness to it, and I can't recall being in a city more alive than Naples. And it started in the taxis, which you take your life in your own hands getting in, but that's how you get from place to place sometimes in places. So here's some poems from Naples. This one is called In an Italian Taxi. Our taxi driver tells us too many tourists in Naples. From the driver's seat of his dented cash-only taxi. Too much good pizza, he tells us. A problem I've been dreaming of having. This one is called IC, SCA. If I am at all concerned Naples wouldn't be as beautiful as Bologna or Florence, all I need to do is look out my hotel windows to the sea, the beautiful sea. All righty. Next up, this one. So we had pizza every single night for dinner because that's really just what one does in Naples. It's where margarita pizza was invented. It's where really all other pizza kind of came from, all other forms. It started with the margarita. And we went to a place called Gino Sorbillo in the old part of Naples where we had our first pizzas. And this poem is called At Gino Sorbillo. I couldn't be more hungry for this pizza. Pulcinella's head surveys the room. Red wine to start, so by the time the pizza arrives, it will be religion. We wonder if we should lick the leftover pizza so they can't serve it to anyone else. Mainly, I wondered that out loud after finishing the first pizza and the wine. The second pizza is our server's favorite summer pizza. Must have been confusing for him when he asked if we wanted a box, and I thought he was pointing to his summer pie and asking, the best? When I pointed to the empty plate where the margarita was and said I preferred that one. The last 4 stanzas may not be clear. Email me if you need me to explain. He offers limoncello, and we are obligated to agree. Now the limoncello is making me cry. Giuseppe says, this is the pizza of our life. He touches his heart. It was really good pizza. And in the spirit of poems I've already read written at the end of evenings in these cities, this one is called Good Night, Naples. One walking tour into Naples, and she has won me over. This historic center which goes on forever with unlimited pizzas and limoncello and things to look up at and down at and all the directions you can think of at. A city of Italians built on a city of Romans, built on a city of Greeks, 3 completely different sets of gods still competing for my attention in layers of stone. Just tonight, I've eaten so much pizza, there is enough of me for 2 ricks, which is perfect because I'm going to send one back to tend to all the emails. Maybe after enough sfogliatelli, I'll have enough for a 3rd who can get another job and finance this whole operation. This whole operation is going to sleep now, to dream of putting lemons and vodka into sugar and sugar into jars and making my fortune selling whatever happens in 4 to 6 weeks. Good night, Naples, but not goodbye. Never goodbye. This one is called A Sign Outside the Bourbon Tunnels. The Bourbon Tunnels is a place that was built as a tunnel between where one of the palaces was to the sea, originally for the king at the time to have a quick escape if he needed one. We went to tour it. A sign outside the Bourbon Tunnels says, quick, no problem parking. It's a good service, but more expensive than the nearby, this will take an hour and we will pee on your car parking. P.S. Nearby is world's coolest car parks. I'm not sure I need an experience out of parking my car. I've got 2 more from Naples, and then we're going to check back in with Addie to see what food we can have from there. Taxi again. Another cab ride, another near-death experience for everyone involved. At night with pizza, waiting for a table at the place where margarita pizza was invented. A melancello spritz is in my veins, and we will dine in, unlike the citizens in the takeout line, which goes up the street to where the city is divided in half. This could take a while, so I may need wine to continue the magic and fall in love with whoever brings it to us. A platonic love like one has for food, food that invokes memory when it touches our tongues. I may use the word tongue and mouth in my travel poems too much, but one thing's for sure, I'm not going to stop. I think I'd intended to read one more poem from Naples there, so forgive the lying of the of the, well, this is kind of a transition poem. Here you go. This was written on the morning when we left Naples. I can feel this. We are leaving Italy tomorrow. All of this will crash to an end. Shut up. We're going to Paris. All right. Before we get to Paris to end the trip, we're going to check in with Addie one more time in a segment called Italian Food with Addie, Naples edition. There you
Pizza,
go.
pizza, pizza time. Here we
Oh my
go.
gosh. Look at that.
We've got our margarita pizza. And if you look closely, it's not sliced. And I have a fork and a knife here with me because this is fork and knife pizza. This is how they serve it. And you cut it yourself and you dig in and eat it, and it's delicious. So here we go.
Fork and knife pizza. Is that like, is
Fork
that even
and knife.
allowed? Can you do that?
It is allowed in Naples, and it is the way.
Yeah, if you ever get a Naples style pizza in here, I say here, assuming everyone is here at my house right now, wherever you are outside of Italy, let's just say, especially in America, the pizzas typically come in slices. They typically are meant, so just like a New York slice, you can pick it up and eat it. But if you ever get one that seems undercooked to you, that's actually how it's served in Naples, just like Addie mentioned. And it's how they do it. You can't get a pizza sliced there. They serve it with, well, maybe you can. I don't know. I don't mean to. We didn't go to every single place, but not where the several places that we went. They all served them just like that.
Yeah,
So
well, the one place we did go, we said we were splitting it, so they just cut it in half and gave us each half a pizza, but we still had to cut it. Here we go. Mm, 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 mm.
now,
No
this
words.
This particular pizza is not from Italy. They don't stay fresh that long when they cook it and then send it on an airplane. But there are a couple places here in Santa Clarita that do Naples style pizzas. That's wood fired. They're all individual size. The margarita, which is the original one, it's just tomatoes for the sauce, San Marzano Italian tomatoes, cheese and basil on top, maybe some olive oil, and that's it. And it truly is delicious and fresh there. And how's that one? Having had the ones we had in Italy.
It's delicious. I do agree with you, though, that first pizza we had in Naples was probably the best pizza we've had. But this is pretty good and reminds me of all of the pizza we had in Naples. I think we even had fried pizza for lunch one day as well.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we did. I don't think I have a picture of the fried pizza, but I do have a picture of the pizza that we had at Gino Sorbio. Let me,
Great.
here it is. That is our first. Oh,
Oh,
and then of course it had, you see
oh
right in the middle, it
yes.
had the block of Ovolini cheese or the ball of Ovolini cheese that they put right on in the middle, which was, what a
Oh,
lovely treat that was.
my, I've got
All it
pizza in front
takes,
of me. My mouth is watering for that pizza.
look, if you want me to show up anywhere, all you have to do is say the words ball of cheese and I'm in. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Addie. We're going to check in with you one more time before
Oh, hold on. I have a
oh,
question for you.
yes.
Um, would you like some limoncello?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for saying, yes, I would love some limoncello. We were offered limoncello at Gino Sorbio's Pizza, and we made a rule that if we were ever offered limoncello at a restaurant, we would just have to say yes, whether we wanted it or not. And I took advantage of Addie a little bit in certain places when they didn't offer walking down the street. I would say, "Would you like a limoncello?" Because it's felt like we weren't really allowed to end an evening without it. But yes, limoncello.
Here it is. Oh, look, you've got some limoncello too.
I do.
Cheers.
Thanks to you. So little.
Mm.
I know not everyone drinks, and I'm sensitive to that. I want to be offensive to that. I don't want to be offensive to that. I'm not sure that's how you word that, but I've already had several sips of spritz. So I don't know what I'll be saying from this point on,
Don't finish the limoncello till after the show, honey.
but everything in moderation. This is an Italian liqueur. It comes originally from just outside of Naples, from the Sorrento area where the lemons come from. You put lemons and an alcohol and sugar in a jar. You let it sit there for a month or two, and then you have limoncello, and you serve it. You keep it in the freezer, and it's really quite lovely. And also we had spritzes earlier. We discovered it in Florence that you can not just have an Aperol spritz, but you can get a limoncello spritz, which is quite lovely. Just replace the Aperol with limoncello and you're golden.
Delicious.
Thank you, Addie. All right. Thank you for reminding me of the limoncello. And we're going to head off to our next city, and that is the city of Paris. Now, I loved Italy so much. We were there for most of the trip, 4 nights in each city. And the only reason we went to Paris is just because it was actually less expensive to fly home from Paris, even with paying with an extra cheap flight from Italy to Paris than it was to fly home from anywhere in Italy. So that kind of made sense when we were planning the trip. But I also really love Paris. And so I thought, well, we're not just going to fly through Paris. You know what I'm saying? That's basically a crime in my books. So so what if we just got to Paris and spent the night there, and then as long as we're there, wake up and spend a whole day there, and then we'll be tired, so we'll just spend one more night and then fly home the next day. And that's what we did. And being someone who just like weeps whenever I think of Paris. I've been there a few times, and it really wasn't fair to Italy to end the trip. Italy did fine, but a lot of the poems I started writing in Paris really, well, here's one. This one is called Not Ordinary. A tip in a guidebook says, another ordinary picture of the Eiffel Tower? Try something new. I wake up in Paris with that ordinary beauty staring at me through this French window. The way she pierces the sky and stands assuming above everything else created in this land of cheese and beautiful streets. We will wander all of them today, our only day here, like it's the infusion we've needed for years to tide us over until the next time we are lucky enough to why not our way across to the sea to this place. Monet, we are coming for you today. Seine, we will touch lips on your bridges. Notre Dame, our much needed checkup after your disaster is on the schedule. All of it in our eyes in one day. There are no ordinary pictures of the Eiffel Tower. And that I firmly, firmly believe. We woke up that first morning in Paris, and we walked almost the entire city, I think 10,000 steps at the end of the day. I would have kept walking, and then we wanted to go to one place, and Addie had that look on her face, the look that only says, we're going to take a metro to the next destination. And so we
walked
did.
10 miles in Paris.
Honey. Oh, 10 miles. That's way more than 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
I know it was 10 something. All right. This was on a break. I saw a news item. This poem is called Lioness in Berlin. At lunch, we hear the news of a suspected lioness on the loose in Berlin. As far as I'm concerned, it's innocent until proven lioness. I'm only going to do 2 more poems from this city, just so it's still fair to Italy. This one is called Paris is the Dream. If you think you should try to fit all of Paris into a single day, you are right and wrong. You are right because it is Paris, and if you only have one day, you should spend every minute of it awake and ingesting this city. Wrong because you should have planned on being in Paris much longer than this. Paris is best done over the course of a lifetime. You'll need 3 years just for the river. You'll need to sell everything and replace it all with Parisian things. Paris is what you will eat and breathe going forward. Paris is the source of all beautiful poems. The guidebooks say a week will do it. My guidebook says this is your life now. That's the dream anyway. And this is the last poem I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to check in with Addie one more time. This poem, towards the end of the book, is called This is a Mistake. It was written on the morning we were leaving Paris. The rain during the short walk to the train says to us, why not go back inside? You don't want to get wet. Leaving Paris is always a mistake. There you go. Before we close up shop, I think we should check in one more time with Addie in a segment we're calling Italian Food with Addie, Paris. I'm not sure I intonated that right after months of rehearsal, but there you go, Addie.
Yes, you're right. It's sure not fair to Italy and everything I've already eaten today to then go to Paris and eat food in Paris. But here we go. This is what we eat for breakfast with some espresso every morning, our pain au chocolat. Croissant with chocolate in the middle. Not directly from Paris, but from the farmer's market, where they have a Parisian who makes all of these delicious treats. So definitely. I got to eat this now too.
So
all right.
this guy, you go to the farmer's market every Saturday, and it's like actually a French guy from Paris who makes all these goods there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a long line at this booth, as I recall.
Yes, yeah, usually. All right, are you ready? I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear the crunch, but here we go. I think I got it in me for one bite. There we go. Are you ready? Ooh, the flakiness. There it is. Flaking everywhere. Yeah.
I would watch an entire show of just you eating food and talking about. I don't know why we needed poems during this, but that looks pretty great.
It's delicious. It'd probably be good for breakfast tomorrow with some coffee. I might save it.
Very good. Well, Addie, my gosh, thank you so much for preparing, organizing, arranging all of this fantastic food. We don't want you to think we didn't have pasta in Italy, by the way. We had quite a bit of pasta, but we had to pick and choose what was going to happen. Each region of Italy has its own pasta. It's different. It tastes different. How they prepare it. You know, in Bologna, it was like filled pastas, right? What was it in Florence?
We had different, I think that's where we had cacio e pepe pasta, and we had some mushroom pasta, and then lemon pasta as well.
Yeah, actually, let me just,
lemons.
I do have a picture of when we went on a day trip from Naples. We stopped in Amalfi, and we had this amazing lemon pasta in the city of Amalfi. We were kind of in a rush because we went there right when it opened, and but we got it, we ate it. It was really quite delicious. So just in case you're concerned, they do have pasta in Italy as well, and it's pretty darn good. Well, look, I want to thank a lot of people for being here. I want to thank Addie for arranging and putting together all the food, and eating all the food as a demonstration. What are you showing us? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a sec, Addie.
All right. So this actually is not my hat. This hat belongs to Rick Looper because he had to buy himself a lemon hat because it was so hot and sunny. So I am demonstrating the lemon hat, Rick Looper.
Yes, and if you pick up a copy of my book, you get a free picture of me in the lemon hat. No extra charge. There you go. Very, very cute. Yeah, we bought that in Amalfi as well. And we have that in case there's a lemon hat emergency here in Santa Clarita. Thank you, Addie, for everything. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your amazing poems and song lyrics from Italy. Great to have you.
Great to be here. Mille grazie.
I've exhausted all of my Italian with prego and limoncello. So, but I'm gonna have to get on Duolingo and get back to you with a more appropriate grazie. There you go, grazie. I could say that.
There you go.
So thank you so much, Elizabeth. Elizabeth wrote an amazing blurb that's on the back of the book as well. Thank you to everyone who's watching. I know we have a bunch of people watching on Facebook, and anyone who might be watching it later on after the live event. Thanks for spending some time with us and checking out the book. Speaking of checking out the book, if you head to my website, actually, I think I can put up the thing on the screen. Oh, maybe I can't. Where is it? Oh, it's back at the top of the things. I'm gonna have to call that up. So no, not that slide. Here we go. Sorry, this was all so carefully orchestrated, and then the very last slide I forgot to call up. So there you go. There's the website. You can read more poems from this and get a copy at poetrysuperhighway.com/spritz. And there's a bunch of poems available, and there's links to a couple places where you can get the book. If you like to buy books on Amazon, which used to only be a bookstore, as we may recall, and you can get it from there. There's a link to it at bookshop.org, which is a place that supports independent booksellers, and they donate a chunk of their earnings to independent booksellers. And also on that page, you can buy it directly from me if you'd like. And if you do buy a copy directly from me, you get a signed copy and an immediate PDF download and free shipping within the price that's listed there within the continental United States. So that's something to consider. But I'm okay with you getting it anywhere that you would like to get it, if you would like to get it. If you get it, if you already have it and you feel like writing a review or a comment on the book's product page on Amazon, that's super helpful. When you're out there putting these things out by yourself, helps people discover it. And there you go. I also want to thank Heidi Casa. Heidi is an Austin-based poet who I know because she comes to the Cobalt almost every week, the virtual Cobalt that I host. She edited the book. She did a whole lot of proofreading it, and the book now has 80% fewer typos than my previous books. So I'm really excited about that. The last page in the book, I don't know if you've ever seen a James Bond film and sat through the credits, but the books, those movies always end, James Bond will return, and often list the title of the movie sometimes, or might just say return. So I started doing that at the end of these books. And so at the end of this book, it says, Rick Lupert will return, possibly with a live moose. That's because our next trip, we went to Alaska. We actually just got back a few weeks ago. And I wrote a whole book of poems there, which will come out next year. So more from that in a year. We'll see if we can get a live moose. I'm hoping to be able to give everyone who buys that book a live moose. I'm not sure that's possible, but we'll see. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. Check out the book. Thanks again, Addie, Elizabeth, and Heidi, and have a good rest of your day. Ciao.